thanks to all of you. Before I sort of open it up and see what questions there may be or responses to what you've heard, I want to just name the importance of speaking from your experience, maintaining the confidentiality of folks in this room, and obviously, hopefully, we'll have a really respectful dialogue. One of the things that I heard kind of as a thread through all of your stories, which I think is an interesting, maybe an unusual place to start, but is the idea that, you know, Ginny said, I loved to do this. I loved to drink and use. And Ed, you talked about the sort of front row seat that you have. And certainly Chris and I as treatment providers see kind of another end of the spectrum, but something that I think is interesting and really relevant to having a community conversation about what Ed touched on is sort of what is the community responsibility that we have for one another when we're going to engage in behaviors that are potentially risky as a community. And that is to acknowledge that kind of at the beginning, and for many people, using it works, it does something good or adaptive. And that in reality, and this is a sort of reality check I have to give myself as a treatment provider, there is a large portion of people out in the world who use in a way that is not necessarily problematic for them, or at least the problems haven't outweighed the benefits or what they've gotten out of using. And as a community, what's our responsibility to meet the needs of those folks and sort of folks as they kind of move down the spectrum, if they're going to, in terms of their use turning into abuse and having more negative consequences. So I feel like that's part of the context of this conversation, particularly with the representation that we have. Anyway, what is that community responsibility at all the different times of substance using? So anyway, that's a question I'll put out there, and welcome your all's responses either to what you've heard or questions of your own to address to the panel or to each other. And panelists, if you have questions for the audience, of course, feel free to ask.